All right, so that's kind of our very, very fast understanding of the anatomy of the eye and how the eye will help you see, right? So just as a very quick summary, right? So light is emitted or reflected from an object. That light enters into your eye. It goes through the pupil and into the lens. The lens's job is to focus it. You can find all of this, more information about all of these structures in your textbook. The lens focuses the image on the back of the eye. In the back of the eye, there are cells called rods and cones that turn that light into neural impulses, right? It's what creates the action potential. The light falls on those particular cells and they create action potentials that are then sent to your brain. So then electromagnetic energy out in the world travels into the eye and it gets converted into brain impulses that your brain can eventually use. So that's the sort of quick summary about how that all works. We're going to go to a second sense now. We're not going to go to hearing, even though we're going to look at pictures of the ear. The second sense we're going to look at is we're going to look at your sense of balance, which in fancy terms is called your vestibular sense. So how do you know which way is up and how do you know how to keep your balance? This is a very important sense in humans because we walk upright. Some of you are engineers in this class, right? You don't make a particularly stable stool with two legs, right? It's really tough. That Christmas tree is just going to fall right over, and you don't want just two legs. And yet here are humans walking around this earth on two legs, and we're trying to balance particularly well. That's helped us. It frees up our hands to do other things, and that's particularly useful. But to make that work, we need a very good sense of balance so that we aren't constantly falling over as we're trying to walk. So that is our vestibular sense. And the vestibular sense actually begins very deep in the inner ear. So yes, the ear has a whole lot of stuff to do with hearing, and you're going to want to check your textbook to know those things about how hearing works and what are the important structures for hearing. But that's not what we're going to look at here with this sense of balance. So deep inside the inner ear, in this picture it's those blue structures that are deep in the inner ear. There are 3 semicircular canals. In those canals, they're filled with fluid, and in the fluid are some crystallized substance that's just sort of in suspension. And the way the semicircular canals are oriented, the way gravity pulls down on those little crystallized things gives you information on which way your head is oriented. So you have 3 of the circular canals, so you can tell in all ways which way your head is oriented, right? So if you watch what my head's going to do here, you have one canal that tells you which way your head is oriented in this plane, right? And the left to right plane. You have another one that tells you which way your head is oriented in sort of an up and down plane, like this. And you have a third one that will tell you which way your head is oriented in a side-to-side way. Kind of like from here to here to here. And combining those 3 pieces of information gives you some very precise information about which way your head is oriented, right? It tells you which ear is up if you're, one of these is over like that. It tells you very specific information about which way your head is oriented. And also gives you sense of which way your head is moving because gravity and inertia are pulling on these little structures that are in those canals, right? So those little crystallized structures, gravity pulls down on them, and there's sort of almost pressure sensors in those canals that will tell you which way your head is oriented because of which way gravity is pulling on them. Now you can mess with that. Astronauts have to get very, very used to not having very good information about which way their head is oriented because when you're out orbiting the Earth, gravity does not pull down in any one specific direction. So you don't get as good an information about which way your head is oriented if you're an astronaut. So it's one of the reasons astronauts are known for, astronaut training at least is known for motion sickness, just because you don't get very good information. And along that sort of idea, let's talk a little bit about motion sickness. So motion sickness is this idea that you get moving or you get moving a particular way, and you can feel sick as a result of it. So some people will get motion sick in cars. Astronauts will get motion sick due to the lesser effect of gravity where they are. And there's a lot of theories about why it is we actually get motion sick. And one of the ones that I like to talk about most is what's called sensory conflict theory. This is a theory sort of about why it is we feel so dizzy in certain times. Like if if you spin around really fast, why do you feel dizzy, and why does that make you feel a little bit queasy when you've done it? So sensory conflict idea, sort of in a quick nutshell here, is the idea that motion sickness is a result of what we call conflicting information. And what we're saying here is that two senses are telling the brain two different things, and both of them can't be true. So there's conflicting information, but your brain is getting like one set of information from one sense and a different set of information from another sense, and it can't put them together very well, and what it results in is feeling sick. So what happens is, so let's say you're standing up and you're just going to spin around really, really fast. Those little crystallized structures in your ears are going to begin spinning as well. And then if you stop, inertia still works on them. So the vestibular sense is trying to tell you that, hey, this body is still rotating, because it feels that it's still rotating. It's getting the information that the body is still rotating, and it's sending those signals to the brain that the body is still rotating. But your visual system, which we've just talked about, is getting different information. It's telling you, no, we quit rotating. We need to walk straight now. And the combination of those two sets of information is what makes people fall over when they get dizzy. What makes people feel sick if they're kind of in a car, right? So a car is a very interesting sense of this as well. It's the opposite, right? A car is a place where your vestibular sense will tell you that you're basically sitting still, right? Because all of these sort of oh no, sorry, no, it's the other way around. Sorry, your visual system will tell you that basically you're sitting still, because all the visual cues, at least inside the car, tell you you're sitting still, right? Nothing is changing relative to anything else inside the car. But you have a very vestibular sense that your body is moving, right? You're moving at an incredibly fast pace, and if you're not looking maybe outside the car to get a different sense that you're moving, you can start to feel motion sick. So a number of people will report that they feel motion sick if they try to read in a car, right? Or where they otherwise they're focusing their attention inside the car, where their vision is going to tell them that nothing is moving, but your vestibular sense is telling you you're moving. So that's kind of our point on motion sickness. All right, well, that was our very quick movement through what we would have talked about in lecture on Friday. Now, notice these videos tend to be a little bit shorter than our hour-long discussions. That's okay. I can move a lot quicker through these things. If you want to go back and rewatch the Vision one, feel free. These will be open all through the semester, so you can go back and watch them again if you would like. Be sure to check Top Hat for the clicker questions for Friday. They will be available. Thank you for watching, and thank you for indulging me again in missing another Friday. And we will see you on Monday, where we will talk about perception, which is the idea that, okay, once we get all this information into our brain, what does our brain actually do with it, and how does it make sense of it? Okay. Thank you again. We'll see you on Monday.